Hello, guys, and welcome down to the first ever CoasterGen show. Yes, we changed our name. There's reasons behind it, but yes, this is what the podcast is going to be called from now on. Is the CoasterGen show, and today I'm joined by my co-host Joe from Think Back Insanity and Liam from Aroma Prime, the company responsible for all them scents that you smell in all the theme parks and attractions. Yeah, thank you, Liam. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. We appreciate you giving us your time as well, and to answer a few questions for all the enthusiasts out there as well. Really appreciate it.
Really
That's
do.
all
Very
right.
good evening.
I appreciate you having me.
You're welcome. So we are just going to touch on the news slightly. So Joe, do you want to just talk about a few things, and then we'll just get off to the races with the podcast?
We can indeed. Yep, no worries at all. So, firstly, very good evening to everybody that is joining us. Thank you very much for coming over and checking out the brand new show. Secondly, we're going to start off the news with a look at Chessington. Now, Chessington, or rather Merlin themselves, actually filed a request for a trademark on a ride name about 2 days ago, a day ago. And it's for their brand new 2021 drop tower, which is apparently looking like it's going to be called Croc Drop.
Croc
Now,
drop.
it's Croc Drop. Yeah. Try saying that when you're drunk.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not the most imaginative of names, but in all fairness, it does the trick. So yeah, that's basically looking like that's going to be the case. Moving on to the Velocicoaster over at Universal Studios Orlando. Construction has been going really sort of steady on that one. And we've officially seen that the top hat element has officially been topped off as of yesterday.
And it looks very sharp as well. Looks like
really
a very
does.
good ejector moment, I think.
You're gonna get whipped over that good and proper.
Yeeted out your seat, I believe. Joe is the same.
It certainly is. Yeeted out your seat indeed. So yeah, it's looking very good. And obviously they're going to be working on the rest of the layout sort of moving forward. So hopefully we'll be seeing that complete installation fairly soon. And that's really good news from over there. Finally, touching on a announcement that was made on national news today by the government. Late July, they're looking to open up indoor areas such as indoor pools, outdoor pools, gyms, and outdoor concerts. Now, how is that going to affect the theme parks and also water parks? Basically, we're looking at the potential that Alton Towers could be opening up their splash landings, which is really good.
Yeah.
We could also be seeing a sandcastle in Blackpool reopen, and obviously any other water park based sort of attractions, or indeed, you know, sort of indoor water attractions in general here in the UK. It's a very good step forward for the UK in general. It shows that we are easing, you know, very gradually out of lockdown and heading towards our final destination in terms of that. At the end of the day, final destination in terms of getting out of lockdown. Yeah, it sounded awful. Great way to say it. Sorry about that, guys. But in general, yeah, everything's moving along in the right direction, and hopefully, again, very positive. So there we go. That's the news.
Whoa! You missed out probably the most important story of the week. Rita is now open.
Rita is now open indeed. Yeah, so you can finally get back on good old Alton Towers Intamin Rocket. I had a coffee to celebrate my Rita cup earlier on.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Yes, Rita is now open. Yes, cool. Well, it's good. It'd be good to walk around the Dark Forest. I really missed doing that when I went last weekend. It was sad. But it was understandable, likewise. And obviously they've come up with an idea now how to start all the social distancing and stuff like that inside the Dark Forest. So that's really positive. So let's hope 13 opens up pretty soon.
Fingers crossed.
All right. So before we start, I want to say congratulations to Aroma Prime for having almost over 40 years. Like, it's your 40th anniversary this year, isn't it, Liam?
Massively.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Yeah, we started around the 80s. We don't have a specific date, but 1980 is our approximate birth.
Wow.
That is crazy. So how did it all begin? Like, what was the premise behind starting Aroma Prime? Obviously, it's quite a niche company. You know, you do things for people. And what was like the first thing Aroma Prime ever did, like in terms of to get going in the industry that we love? You know, the theme park industry and attractions.
Well, the company used to be called Dale Air Conditioning, and it was owned by a man called Fred Dale. And this was probably even in the late 70s. And he just made pleasant aromas for like shopping malls and shops and hotels.
Oh, nice.
Things like bread and flowers. And then the Jorvik Viking Centre was being built. And that's an immersive Viking village. It was the first of its kind being an immersive museum experience, and the designer asked Fred Dale if he could make things like pig poo and human poo, and
there's some interesting scents in that place. I can vouch for that one. I've been many times, especially going through that village.
yeah, it's well known for its smells. And after the success of that, plenty more museums and theme parks started asking for theme smells, and it all started off like that. It's gone very well considering we've been going for about 40 years now.
I mean, yeah, your your portfolio of people who use you is very, very impressive, and
It really is.
It's an honor to have you guys on here. It really is.
Genuinely.
But it's like, so we'll talk about one of them because everybody's itching to know. Like, how did it come around for the Wicker Man? You know, how did all that start with the smell and everything?
Well,
what you can tell us.
Indeed.
This was before I worked for the company, but
okay.
I kind of speak with quite a few Merlin creatives when they have new projects going on. They'll often approach us a little bit early on when the project is still a secret.
Yeah.
So we'll be told what they're looking for, and we'll see if we can make it. Initially, it was Bradley who was the project lead on that, and he was looking for something that could create the right kind of atmosphere because of the kind of ritualistic element to the ride. He was interested in like herby smells. I believe they use sage in the pre-show, which is actually not well known, that it has sage as well as wood smoke.
In hindsight, I can actually, I can see that because there is that sort of almost herby smell when you're actually in that room. I always wondered about that, you know, kind of what that smell was.
It's like a muted wood smoke with something else. So that's what the something else is then. It's sage. That's really cool.
Yeah, I believe wood smoke is more dominant in the loading area. From what I gather, I haven't actually been on the ride and I really ought to.
You haven't been on Wicker Man?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's such a great ride.
How come? Do you live too far away or?
Yeah, well, I live right at the bottom of the country.
So it's
man. A whole holiday if I want to go to Alton Towers. But it's something I absolutely have to do because Wicker Man is what we're very well known for.
Definitely.
Yeah, so eventually we either work out or we're told what the ride is, and then it all comes together like that.
That was so cool. So, sorry, George, you don't want to ask a question?
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, it's all good.
Okay. So let's say you get the brief from Alton Towers and they say we want it to smell like a burning ritual. How many people are involved in the process of coming up with the scents and all the background research you have to do to try and get the scent right? And is there some sort of foundational smell that everything's built off, like within AromaPrime, or does it all just come together as one big, like, full project? Or is it like different people working on different things at the same time?
It normally doesn't require too many people because with the company being so old, we've got so many smells already that often a client can just pick. And something that isn't unusual is for us to take a couple of smells that we already have and then mix them together to make something new. So yeah, I mean, something like wood smoke is a very simple one for us to make. It's normally more abstract things like there's an escape room company called Modern Fables who has lots of custom smells with all sorts of mythical names, and that's when it tends to get a bit more imaginative. Not that wood smoke isn't imaginative, but it just requires less work from us.
Yeah. Not quite as involved.
Yeah, well, for example, if a creative calls us up and says they're looking for something, then I'll often suggest things, or we'll send them loads of samples and they'll sniff loads of different things, and they'll tell us which one they like the most. Sometimes it won't always be the smell that has the right name. So they might be making a kind of ship, a pirate ship, and they smell cabbage, for example, and they think, oh, actually, this has got more of the seaweed kind of thing we're after, and they'll end
Yeah.
up using cabbage. So
There was a very interesting smell, or rather prominent smell in Darkest Depths, which I have to say has stuck with me ever since I walked through that room. The smell of vomit is probably one of the most unpleasant smells you've probably created, in my opinion. Yeah, is there any sort of other sense you created that kind of matched that in terms of sort of, you know, memorableness other than kind of Wicker Man? Are there any sort of other firm fan favourites, if you will?
Well, we always get asked about Bubble Works.
Of course.
That used orange and bubble gum and candy floss.
Yeah.
People seem to be nostalgic for that. Yeah, people seem to like Creek Freak Massacre as well.
I'm quite fond of that one. I mean, I kind of like the darker smells in general because obviously I visit the dungeons a lot as well. So I kind of like the smell of like the Plague Doctor room and, you know, sort of walking through one or two other little bits.
Yeah.
There's just something about those scents that just really hit home. So yeah, I can definitely see where they're coming from with that one.
Did you do any smells for the Towers dungeons?
Yeah, I believe so. Sometimes we just get orders and they just buy off the shelf and we don't discuss it with them too much. But yeah, they do have our smells. I just don't know which ones specifically.
Right. So you mentioned the Bubble Works before. We had a question from a lady called Lisa Evans who says, "What is the smell at the end of the Gruffalo ride? Just as you finish." Said that her and her son really likes it, and I just thought I'd get that one in early.
If it's particularly pleasant, I believe it's Granny's Kitchen. I think there's some kind of I don't know, pastry at the end of the ride.
Pastry, or like a pie.
Yeah, I'm not sure specifically, but I think that's a Granny's Kitchen smell, whatever the scene is.
That's really cool. Well, there you go, Lisa. Try out Granny's Kitchen and see if that works.
Indeed. Good question, though.
It was a good question. Yeah. So Liam, what made you get involved with AromaPrime then? Like, you know, you said you was with the company after the Wicker Man project. What drew you to AromaPrime and what made you part of, you know, the company?
Well, prior to it, I was already an attractions designer. So designing for museums and castles and themed things, escape rooms. So I was aware of the company and I was particularly interested in it. And I thought that I could offer something to it, particularly as it had just been purchased from the previous owner. So the new owners had more of a business background. And I felt that with my background working with attractions already and being aware of what's considered when attractions are being designed, I felt I could kind of provide an understanding when talking to clients and kind of helping them find what they're after in terms of storytelling and atmosphere and the technical details of preparing a ride or an experience.
I suppose from that standpoint, you would have an idea, or rather a more informed idea of kind of what they were sort of heading towards. You know, the overall product being when they were sort of saying what they wanted in certain areas of that attraction, wouldn't you? Because you'd have a rough idea of kind of how it would have been laid out and how the story kind of would have flowed. Was that the case?
Yeah, it's like with dark rides, for example, just things that I already know naturally compared to a businessman might say, like knowing when the right point to release a smell and trigger certain responses would be, and thinking about the guest experience. So when they leave the ride, you might want to attract them to a gift shop and have smells in the gift shop and little things like that.
Like obviously, like Towers Trading has, I would assume, candy floss. It's quite a sweet smell as you walk in. In fact, you sort of, I don't know if you said it before. Does the company still sort of do scents for the likes of supermarkets and things? Because sometimes you walk in
good
and get
question.
quite a prominent smell like baked bread or sort of other quite iconic smells. Is that still something that the company do cater to aside from obviously attractions?
Yeah, we work with all sorts of venues like that. We still work with shopping centres and hotels and
Oh,
uh,
fantastic!
care homes and cinemas.
Obviously. Yeah, I remember seeing the smell pods that they actually use in care homes. That's a really nice way to kind of help, sort of bring back those memories for sort of the elder residents, isn't it? It's quite a nice thing to sort of to offer in terms of a product.
Yeah, well, it's all linked to the same science that makes theme park fans enjoy the smell so much. The way that they
Yeah,
bring back memories and
definitely.
transport you back. It's handy in terms of bringing elderly people back to their old memories as well.
Yeah, and sort of bring that nostalgia back in as well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
such a nice thing to do as well. I mean,
Mm,
you can imagine how they feel smelling them. It takes them right back, and they can really enjoy, a little
yeah,
brief moment of, like escapism from what they're going
exactly.
through right now, and then that really gives them a lift, I'd imagine, throughout the day. That's such a
yeah,
really cool thing to do. Like,
Mm,
particularly
thank
if
you for
they
doing that.
have. Oh,
indeed.
that's all right. We like doing it. It's nice to have something with a kind of ethical benefit aside from all the other things we do. And it's nice for people with dementia in particular who
Yeah,
find it
Yeah,
difficult to access memories. Smell kind of bypasses quite a few of the difficulties that they have, and it takes them directly to memories with some ease, which is
mm,
makes it a nice tool.
definitely. I know my grandmother actually. I mean, she's gone now, sadly. But before she sort of went, both they suffered with dementia quite a fair bit. And she used to sort of talk about some of the smells that she had from her childhood. She always remembered sort of certain things.
mm,
A mother doing certain things in terms of cooking and certain smells in the air. In certain areas. And if only I'd been able to kind of obviously offer that back then prior to going, it would have been a really nice thing to do. So it is nice that obviously that option is available there for people that obviously, sort of do want to remember those times in their lives, because it just creates that, moment of happiness and that moment, as you said, Luke, of escapism,
yeah.
which I think in that particular, situation is extremely important. So, yeah.
Mm. I'm sure when the fans of Wicker Man at the moment are all elderly will be selling
Well, we're
like
sniffing
just
wood
like
smoke.
them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely.
uh, did you ask the question that Joe asked about how long it takes to come up with a perfect scent? I can't remember. Did we ask that?
We didn't know, but maybe if we put that one forward.
Yeah. Okay. So, Joe Foster asks, how long does it take to create a perfect scent when you come up with the idea and you're trying to create it? She says, I imagine it'd be a long process.
Well, it depends on the smell, really. So sometimes, particularly for scare attractions, we often already have what they need. For example, vomit and rotting flesh and urine and all that.
Yeah.
So that can be dealt with straight away.
Yeah.
If we're mixing a smell, we can do that straight away if it's two different ones that we already have. Um, Sometimes we might have to order an ingredient, in which case a week might be added to it. And if we're making a brand new smell, um, then it can be a couple of weeks in terms of getting the
Yeah.
ingredients, experimenting and researching to make them accurate. And then there's the case of sending samples to the client so that they can see if we've got it right, and then going back and trying again. So yeah, when it gets to that point, it's around 2 weeks to a month.
Oh wow. So it really does depend on obviously just how intricate the actual scent is then.
Yeah, it can depend on that and what kind of project it is and how much money the client has as well, whether it's a big project or
Yeah.
just a little independent project.
Does it matter on the size of the venue that's being used for an attraction? So does it matter how long it takes to create a scent to cover, let's say, I don't know, 20 meters, or, if it was a mile, would that take a longer process to do to get it like the strength right?
Not really. We just use more pungent aromas the thing that affects how far the smell travels is our machines that we make. So we have machines like the mini dispenser, which is popular with theme park fans, that just sends the aroma about 3 meters at the most. And then we've got the Vortex Utopia, which is our most powerful one, and I think that's about 10,000 cubic meters
Oof.
at the moment.
Wow. So
And it
does
connects to air conditioning.
yeah, so does that all combine into sorry, was it Fred Dale? Was that his first name?
Yeah.
But did that all combine to his like air conditioning company background within the company? Like they're able to blast these smells out because of all the aircon units and stuff that they've created.
Well, back in Fred's day, we didn't have machines that connected to air conditioning, but he developed the Vortex machine, which is perhaps our most well-known machine. It's like a cup that heats up. People often call them smell pods.
I was wondering which ones we used at the various different
Yes.
places.
So, like most of the rides at the moment will use that. It's a metal cup that plugs into the wall, and you fill it with aroma, and then it heats up, and the smell is spread. Although we updated that recently to something a lot more advanced and safe and powerful as well. So the cup model, the iconic cup model that we've had for about 40 years, the ones on the website are now the final ones available. Anyone wants to grab them before they disappear forever.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you want one, guys, you're gonna have to get in there quick. Then in that case, because they'll sell.
They will. Yeah.
Indeed.
So speaking of selling, I don't want to touch on it too long, but how has the pandemic affected Aroma Prime, or have you been able to sell more some of the smells that you've had lying about, or have you been able to still carry on with projects, coming up with new ideas, or that kind of thing?
It has been somewhat challenging because obviously all of our biggest customers have been closed. So
Yeah.
all the public venues, including theme parks and museums and escape rooms and shops. We have been selling to care homes still because they've still been in business, and we've offered discounts to them specifically so that they can benefit from the relaxation that smell can offer during such a challenging time.
Indeed.
And we've also been releasing more smells for theme park fans. So all the orders that we've got for our theme park fan collection smells have been getting us through as well. So it hasn't been terrible.
No, so I think the last collection, or as you say, fan collection you released was the Dungeons collection, I believe. Is that correct?
That was the one before our most recent editions. Most recently, we added some kind of general theme park smells like candy floss cart and water wine dampness and that kind of thing.
Indeed. I think sadly I missed those. I have to go check those out.
Yeah.
So actually, I've got a question. So in terms of sort of how the pandemic has affected, how have you sort of seen your clients' kind of needs sort of develop with the situation then? And I've seen that sort of on the social media, you've kind of plugged the fact that using scent is a really good way to kind of encourage interactivity in the likes of museums, etc., rather than obviously kids being able to touch things and pick things up. Sort of how has that kind of affected the way you'll sort of move forward as a company?
Well, scent has certainly been discussed among museums. It was reported in the Telegraph how museums are considering scent as a COVID-safe alternative to hands-on activities.
Yeah.
Which is certainly something that museums have to think about because hands-on activities are very popular at the moment.
They are, and unfortunately, obviously, with all the touching and the spreading of the virus, etc., it's a bit of a no-go, unfortunately.
Yeah, and escape rooms have that problem as well, where you go around touching everything.
Yeah.
I mentioned Modern Fables before. They're one of our good customers, and they've been making amendments to how they operate in terms of being really thorough with cleaning and things. But they've also been using lots of smells to kind of make up for the lack of immersion that might come about with all the procedures that have had to come into place.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah. So yeah, we have the company I work for has a museum called Touchtones, and we're all about the history of Rochdale. And we've had Dippy on tour, the dinosaur, just turned up before lockdown, and we had a load of like screen activities and projection activities and things like that. So if you incorporated smell into them, I think you could have a really, really detailed, immersive experience.
Yeah.
You know, like say for example, the asteroids coming down to wipe out the dinosaurs, and you can smell the asteroid coming down wiping out the dinosaurs. You know, you can smell the burning in the atmosphere, and you can smell like the explosion and things. Like that would really turn things around in terms of not being able to touch things, because there are a lot of touch zones, you know, high contact points they call them now, which will need rigorous cleaning, like even in theme parks, like handles, door handles, rails, obviously the trains as well. You know, the trains are a big one. It's nice to see them using knapsacks now as well, though, instead of just using them squirty bottles. They're actually using proper knapsacks now to spray down the trains. It's a lot quicker. But yeah, no, I can really see smell being one of them that could actually take over the whole idea of touching things in a museum, because it can really put you in the moment. So
Did you say you're based in Rochdale?
Yes, Rochdale, yeah.
Our factory is in Whitworth, just outside of Rochdale.
Is it really? Wow, no way. That's amazing.
Just down the road from you, mate.
Yeah, it literally is. No, I could literally set off on my bike and get there in 5 minutes. That is crazy. Yeah. So have you guys done anything for Touchstones then? Maybe I should ask the guys there
that. I'm going to make a note of that.
Yeah.
And look it up in a bit.
Because we have a lot of old like machines, and we have like a pub, a little bit of like a bar section going on, and to have like smell of an old bar, you know, like I don't know, like cigarette smoke or something like that when you go around there, because that's what it would have been like in them days.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And beer, you know, that kind of thing. I always remember the smell of beer mats like the day after the pubs closed, because my granddad used to look after a club, and I used to go and help empty the bottles out in the bottle bins the day after when I stayed over in the school holidays. And I always remember the smell of beer mats. It was like, ugh. It was like one of them, you know.
Stale beer.
It's kind of what a pub smells like. Yeah, it really is. So that would be cool. Yeah, make a note of it, Touchstones, and I'll get in touch with the people down there, and we'll see if we can get something going for that, because that'd be really cool.
Fantastic.
Might make a sale out of this podcast.
Luke's taking 10%.
Yeah.
So one of our listeners called Aaron J. Gallimore is actually one of my team as well. Has a good question. He says, "What's the most difficult scent you've ever had to make?"
From scratch.
Indeed.
Not mixed, from scratch. What's the hardest one from scratch?
I tend to enjoy those kinds. We made The Beginning of Time for a competition winner.
Hang on a minute. The Beginning of Time?
Yeah.
How did the brainstorm session go for that?
Well, we did a competition with Aquila Children's Magazine, and children came up with all sorts of interesting ideas, and the most imaginative ones would be made by us. So I picked The Beginning of Time because it would have been the most historical smell we would have ever made.
Literally.
I was reading articles about the prior to the Big Bang, and what might have been around, and then what might have been around just after the Big Bang. So it ended up being kind of fiery and a little bit sweet, based on what I'd been reading. So that was a very fun one. And then recently we made The Smell of Night.
Well, before you carry on, Chris from Screw Loops actually said, "What does night smell like?" as a question. So we'll
That was
go
a really
there.
good question.
We'll go there. I mean, what does that mean? He went, "You'll have to find out." Okay, so go ahead, Liam. What does night smell like?
Well, because it was just a little competition prize, we didn't spend weeks on this one. But when I'd been given the task of night, I went to my window and sniffed outside, and it was kind of damp and mossy, possibly because my bedroom is in the loft and I've got the roof outside.
Mm.
That was what I had. So it ended up being damp and mossy and a bit woody as well, like pine trees and leaves and
So
that
it's a
kind
kind of how it smelled if you sort of walked into kind of the woods on like a wet day, then that sort of scent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know which smell I always like? You know what? In summer, and it just chucks it down for 5 minutes, and then you get like the nice orange color on the bricks, because obviously we have brick houses here in the UK, like primarily brick. Like I know in America there's a lot of wooden houses and things like that, but over here we have like terraced houses, and then you see the bricks, and then you get that like wet stone smell, like for a good 10 minutes just after it's rained. That'd be a cool smell to have. Like, that's one of them that I always reminds me of, like when I used to go skating and it'd chuck it down. I'd be like, I can't go out until the smell's gone because that's when it's going to be dry. Yeah,
That's a very popular one around the world, I think. The smell of like pavements just after the rain as well.
oh, so you do have that.
I'm not sure that we have it. We probably do somewhere in our storeroom. We've got a very smelly storeroom full of laser
I
bottles.
can imagine. How many actual smells do you have roughly?
Well, at the last count, it was over 400. That's what we say most of the time.
Wow,
But
that's incredible.
we've made new ones since then, so it might be 500 or more.
Wow.
But I recently learned that humans are capable of smelling over 1 trillion smells, I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was over 1 trillion. So there are plenty of opportunities for making us.
The one scent that I quite like is it's quite a difficult one to explain, but if you've ever kind of gone outside, literally as the sky's getting really black just before it's about to start thundering, there's almost like a sort of I think the best way I can kind of describe it is like a sort of wet, staticky sort of smell in the air.
I know what you mean.
Just literally just before it's about to start absolutely bouncing and thundering. And I always love that smell. And I can step outside and I can smell the air. And I'm like, yeah, give it 5 minutes and it's going to be a massive storm. And to this day, touch wood, I've always been correct. So
you can tell, can't you? The atmosphere just changes.
It does completely. But
it's like when you go into the crypt at 13. On 13, you're like, oh, what's going on in here? You know, something's going to happen.
You get hit in the face with an air cannon. It's like,
yeah. Did you do any scents for 13? Were there any in there from Aroma Prime?
I don't have it on record, but I believe there might be smells in the crypt.
Because it does have a funny smell in there. Not ridden it for a year, so I can't quite like go into detail of it, because even Galactica felt intense to me this year when I went. But to be fair, it was absolutely hauling around that track. But in terms of like remembering experiences from rides, in a way, it's kind of give you that adrenaline back, you know, to get on certain rides.
I was so happy to be on Nemesis. I've got to tell you, I really was.
Having this big break's been like, I don't know, just every coaster you queue up for, every ride you queue up for, every little vendor you queue up for some food. It all means a little bit more because we've been tucked away for so long, and now we're allowed to go out there and do things that we love to do. It's one of them. But I would definitely be taking more notice of the smells and attractions when I'm back out and about. It's something that I've never really like thought about. Other than Hex, I think Hex was the one. I'm guessing that's probably one of your more popular smells amongst the theme park enthusiast community.
Yeah, that's our musty smell, I think, and musty is one of the really traditional atmospheric smells for kind of dark and decrepit places.
Yeah. Absolutely love that smell. I know it's not. It's supposed to be one of those smells that's not supposed to smell nice, but I love the smell of it. I don't know why. I just do.
Reminds me of like. To be fair, it kind of does smell like that rain smell.
It
You
does a
know,
little bit, actually. Yeah, a little
you
bit more
think?
intense.
Yeah, like the
Yeah,
construction feeling, the dust feeling.
Yeah.
I agree. I've got the smell. I've got some bottles in a doll's house in my bedroom. 'Cause it's a convenient place to keep them. And I've got musty, and it's kind of damp and sweet, and yeah, that's a good comparison. It does smell a bit like that rain smell.
Yeah.
It does a little bit, actually. Yeah. Now you mentioned it, it's probably.
What did you say? Sorry, you broke up a little bit there, Joe.
I say that's probably why I like it so much because it smells really similar.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It could be, yeah. 13 has a musty smell too. So am I thinking that 13 has the same smell as Hex? I'm kind of getting that vibe from it. Maybe. I'm thinking so.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Ooh. Sorry, I've just seen Ben King has a really good question. It says, "Did Aroma Prime install scent pods in the Wallace and Gromit ride at Pleasure Beach?"
Ah, cheese grommet.
Indeed.
Possibly. I have less information because I have documents on what's being used where, and sometimes it changes because will order new things and time will pass and they might change things around. Um, so my records on Blackpool Pleasure Beach are a bit more dated. I'm pretty sure they have something in the Alice in Wonderland ride, and Valhalla definitely did when it opened. I don't know if it still did just before the refurbishment. They've just started.
What did
There's a chance.
what did they have in Valhalla? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Wet dog. Could be wet dog. Then dogs don't have bark at you when you go around that corner.
Oh, yeah, big time.
I miss Valhalla. I can't wait to see what they do with it, though. It's going to be interesting. I'm guessing they'll come to you for some smells for the refurbishment. That they must do. If they've used it in the past, they must come to you guys at some point, just to give it that more immersion as well. Like especially with what goes on in there, with all the different themes, the different what would you call it, like ecosystems they have in there. Like they have the ice and they have the sea. Obviously, that's a big part of it. But yeah, they have loads of different. Have you died? So rambling a bit, but have you guys done anything for people like abroad, like America, like big parks in America or attractions in America? Or?
Yeah, lots of when they tend to get bigger, they tend to be more secret. But we do work abroad quite a lot, in America and Asia. I'm trying to think of an example. Yeah, and there's lots across Europe as well, particularly escape rooms. So lots of foreign escape rooms who use our smells. And actually, we've recently been working with, I think it's a hotel or a hotel and maybe a shopping center in Asia. And that's really interesting because there's lots of growth in Asia at the moment. It seems lots of money going into it.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely taking off. So how come? What makes Aroma Prime like the most? I don't really know about the smell industry, but I can tell by the amount of clients that you do have in the sector. What makes people keep coming back to Aroma Prime? What makes it so special? Is it the care and the attention to detail that you give, or is it just the fact that you've been doing it for that long? You've just got a lot of experience in this field.
Yeah, it's a mixture. There's pretty much nobody else like us. There are other scent companies, and some of them do like food smells and a few musty smells, but no other company has a library as large as ours. And because it's so old, it's been going for decades. We've had years to improve the ingredients and develop our machines and grow our experience and our understanding of our clients. So all of that combined kind of sustains us as a industry leader.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible. It really is incredible. And congratulations, because it
Indeed.
takes a lot to be able to work with these kind of people. They obviously rely on you guys to put their vision, creative vision across in a different way, like an artist could as well. Like just you're like the concept art for smell. Like that's kind of what it is. And you come in there and you just turn the place, you make the place alive. Like you could have a dead room with nothing in it, and then you could just have a smell, and it really does make it change. Hex is a prime example. It's just a corridor, and
Yeah.
then and you go in there, you smell construction, and like there's something going on. It's really cool. It is really cool what you guys do. It really is.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoy the creativity of it and
Mm.
how it allows we're enabled to work across so many different projects all around the world. We've got all sorts of different stories and themes going on every day. That's very exciting.
I bet it's a really cool job to turn up and not know what's going to be next, right?
Yeah, well, we always get interesting emails and phone calls.
So talking a little bit about kind of what's next. What is next for Aroma Prime? Is there anything you can tell us?
Well, we are.
Big question.
We have been doing lots with our theme park fan collection during lockdown. And we're working with another attraction to add some more smells to that soon.
Ooh, fantastic.
So there'll be more smells specifically from that attraction. And we're working with a theme park in another country on a dark ride. But I can't say too much about that.
Wow.
Yeah, we're still. I guess there are fewer projects at the moment because of lockdown and the pandemic problems. But we're picking a few up now, and I'm thinking that we'll be pretty busy again in when the scare events start coming about and getting planned. Because I mentioned earlier before the podcast, I do think there is optimism to be had when it comes to the scare attractions opening this year.
Indeed, and I personally myself would probably agree with you there as well. I think it is fair to say that we potentially can look forward to some form of Halloween offering. It may not be exactly as we've kind of sort of been used to for the last however long, but I think it's fair to say that from what I've seen as well, there probably is something coming, but that's only based on kind of speculation really more than anything else. So let's hope it happens.
To be honest with you, Joe, I would rather have a socially distant with my own group trip through a scare maze than have 4 random people tag along. If you can get like a good 4 or 5 of you to go to a park on the same time and you're all part of the same bubble, because obviously bubbles will probably be expanded by then. We're talking about October, November time.
Indeed,
That'd be really cool if there was 5 of you and you all went through and you all came out and you went through the next one and you all went through and came out. You didn't have to interact with anybody else, just the scare actors and all the things that are going on. I would rather have that.
I would as well, yeah. And it would
be
make
more of a personal experience, wouldn't it?
I was going to say that, it'd be more that's all right, it'd be more sort of personal to you guys. And also, I think talking about sort of scare attractions, potentially, we could see more with sort of scare zones potentially as well, rather than indoor scare mazes. There's still so much you can do with the outdoors, and at the end of the day, there is still every chance that you could still, I suppose, kind of incorporate theme sense into that as well, couldn't you, Liam? Because there are ways of sort of spreading it over a greater distance. Would that still be possible, do you think?
Yeah, our larger machines are powerful enough to spread smells outside. Just before the lockdown, there was a rather well-known sausage company who was spreading meat smells around the street with a van that they were taking about. So, yeah, it's possible.
That's
fine. Sausage butt is afterwards.
That is really cool. Do you know what? Cheese on toast. That's a smell. Now we're talking.
Toast in general.
Yeah, cheese on toast. Oh man, cheese on toast is a smell that just makes you want to have cheese. Like you see someone. I remember the advert. I think it was for a cheese. I can't remember what the cheese company were called. like was it
Cathedral City, was it?
Cathedral City, yeah, and it was like
Yeah.
one guy walking with one piece of cheese on toast, and then everyone's like, "Oh, I want cheese on toast now." That's literally me. If I see an advert for cheese on toast, I'm like, "Yep, I'm gonna making cheese on toast." I think it's grilled cheese for the American people watching. That's what you call it, I think.
Can't beat grilled cheese. You really can't.
Luke needs a pinch Fanta smell. Yes, I do, Ben.
You need your peach Fanta fix in general, mate. You really do.
The hydration zones have opened now, haven't they, at Towers?
They have actually, yeah. That is correct.
Oh,
yeah.
And I can't get a ticket. All of the pre-book pass, annual pass tickets are sold out for like a while.
I know.
But the main tickets are still on sale.
Yeah. Sounds about right, to be fair.
Paid a lot for my membership and annual pass. I think we should be able to.
I'd agree. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if they just like dropped an email and they were just like, we may have some spaces available. 10 tickets are going to come available at this time. Make sure you check the app. Something like that. Because
be a good move.
Yeah, because I wanted to go this week. I was going to go back on Thursday. Well, today, but I couldn't get a ticket, and I'm not paying £35 over my annual pass. I know that membership prices have been stopped from now until I believe I can't remember. I can't remember when it is. I think it's for a while though. Like they've stopped the payments on the memberships.
Yeah, they have.
But I can't remember how long it was for. It is for quite a while.
It's quite a while.
I don't want to pay £35 just to get in. Like,
no, definitely not. Especially not when you got a pass.
Yeah.
You don't want to be paying on top of that as well when you've already got a pass to get in.
I was so gutted. I was looking at it because I was speaking to Aaron and I was like, "Do you fancy going Towers?" And he was like, "Yeah, let's go Towers." And he was like, "I can't go Towers." I'm like, "Okay, well, I can't go anyway." And we were gonna go, but then we couldn't go, so we had to go Flamingoland.
Did, but at least you're getting some custards for the first time, so there is a slightly positive side to that.
What we should do, Joe, next week, because we don't really have anything planned for the show, is maybe postpone it until Friday and do a live at yours.
I think that's a really good idea. Yeah, definitely. Because if you're coming over, we can almost do it. Do a video one if you want, rather than obviously just audio.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, definitely. I'm up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
sweet.
So sorry, Liam, we went on a
sorry, mate.
Yeah. So you said that you're working with Asia and all over the place in the world. What's the most interesting place you've traveled to on these projects?
Well, I'm trying to think. Oh, we went to Paris. We went to Paris for the IAPA convention last year. So that was nice. And it's not thrilling, but I went to Birmingham in November. What did I do there? I did something interesting there for another convention. Oh, we did a care home convention and then the Family Attractions Expo. And I've been to the Sea Life head office, which is actually in my own town of Weymouth.
Nice.
Having a meeting, and it's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in there with all their kind of contraptions that they've got like lots of prototypes for new displays. So that was an exciting meeting. And then I've also met the founder of the Eden project at a kind of design open day and got him to smell some poo. So
always goes back to poo, doesn't it, Liam?
Always comes back to poo. So actually, we're talking about. Oh, I'm sorry, Luke.
No, go on, mate. You go.
I was going to say you were talking about conventions. I'm actually a massive sort of fan of comic conventions. I do, have a real sort of geeky side to myself, and I've done quite a few over the years. Is that ever something that sort of Aroma Prime have been asked to be a part of, or asked to be involved in at all? Because there obviously have some potentially quite interesting opportunities there, if that was the case.
Yeah, it's a good idea, particularly with like the photo opportunities when they make little sets and things.
Exactly, yeah. So sort of like when Robert Englund's there, say as Freddy Krueger, you could almost have like that boiler room sort of burning smell in the background that obviously more sort of fear to it. Just add a completely different depth.
Good thinking. I'll look into that.
Something to look into.
I think Joe should work for you.
I'd love to, but yeah.
Ben King says, can Aroma Prime make custom smells for individual people?
That's a good question.
Yeah, well, if it's pretty simple, like I said, we can probably mix existing ingredients together to get what you're after. Um, you only have to pay a bit extra if it means we're going to have to get new ingredients in and start going hardcore with our research and things and experimenting. Um, but yeah, there's nothing to stop you from inquiring, and we can see what we can do for you.
Excellent. That's
Uh,
quite cool.
Yeah, Aaron, that's really cool. Aaron says, have you done any scare conventions?
Well, that's kind of what we were just
Yeah,
talking about.
you kind
Yeah.
of is, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, but like we did send some samples to ScareCon. We made a book of smells that you opened up and it had lots of samples in it. And we were going to go to ScareCon this year
Oh, yeah.
before it was postponed for a year. So we'll hopefully be going next year. I think it's in May again.
I'm still hoping that for the Love of Horror happens in Manchester. I know that they've not confirmed it isn't going ahead as of yet, so I'm really hoping it does. Because I'm dying to get over there. There's one or two actors I want to meet. So
When is that supposed to be?
it's October time. I can't remember the exact dates, but I'm hoping to be going with. Yeah, I'm hoping to go with Sean Evans from Lift Hills and Frills, all being well. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to Sean Evans over at Lift Hills and Frills. Great channel.
Indeed. Definitely.
Just checking the chat now, seeing what else we've got in here. I just seen one from. Have you got any more questions, Joe?
I think, to be honest, I've kind of covered sort of everything that I was sort of thinking about. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm just checking now in the chat, see if we've missed anybody's questions.
No worries.
Oh yeah, what has been the nicest smell for you guys to create?
Cherry blossom is a very nice one. That's very popular, and we've got a Yuletide one as well, which is like a Christmas smell, which is very pleasant. And cookies is nice.
Nice. Ben King just asked actually, did Aroma Prime make the entrance smell when the haunted house first opened in the 90s?
If it had a smell, I believe so. I think it had back then, or back when the ride first had smells, it was called Garden Shed, which is now called. We still have Garden Shed, but we also have Earthy, which is similar ingredients, which Jewel has now. It has earthy and a bit of musty as well.
It does. I love that smell when you walk in. It kind of just hits you like, oh, yep, back in Jewel.
I like to slam the door knocker. If you're ever in Jewel and you hear a big bang behind you in the yeah, that's me.
It's Luke playing with knockers, yeah. Knocker, sorry.
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
I can't believe that Philip
offended.
Schofield opened up the haunted house. That's hilarious. Every time I watch that documentary back, it makes me laugh.
That's crazy.
And then John Wadley's like running around and trying to get Jewel working because he had a breakdown for about 2 hours before they opened to the public. Such a cool document. What are your favorite documentaries, Liam? Like, what are your favorite things to watch about theme parks and stuff?
Well, I recently watched the Imagineering story on Disney.
Oh man, so good.
That's jolly good. Yeah. The British Theme Park Archive makes some good videos. Yeah, I don't can't think of any off the top of my head. I watched the one about Valhalla when it first opened from 2000, I think.
Ooh.
Whatever comes up on YouTube, I guess.
Yeah.
To be fair, I quite commonly find myself just scrolling through and sort of anything that I see that was like, oh, actually, that looks really cool. You just kind of put it on. You find some really interesting stuff that way in terms of like ride, documentaries and things. In fact, I found the one about Big One that way. I was watching something completely unrelated and it just came up in my feed. I'm like, right, I've got to watch that.
Were seagulls there by any chance?
That's the one. Yep, that's the one.
The daily routine is show up, look at it, and point.
Indeed.
Yeah, you don't see me on that thing. I love that documentary. It's
I do as well.
so funny. I remember actually going to Blackpool when I'm going on the train around the park with my parents and looking up. They were doing the lift hill at the time. And I was just like, wow, this thing is massive. As a kid as well, like, you know, that coaster is even bigger than what it is now. So it was like this huge structure, and obviously you're looking online and you're seeing things like Millennium Force and not was Millennium Force built by then? I think it might have been. But you see like big rides in America being built, and you know, and then you see the big one being built at Blackpool. It was like, wow, it was so cool. It was such
Actually,
a cool
have
time.
something like that in the UK. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when it was built, I wasn't tall enough.
I remember going on that for the first time. I think again, I had the similar sort of issue, and just that first experience of riding that ride was just something else entirely. Man. It really was. And now every time we go, I have to get at least one ride. Normally, obviously, we didn't on opening day, but at the end of the day, yeah, we'll do next time.
Yes, we will definitely this year.
100%.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, Liam, what is your go-to theme park in the UK then?
Oh, well, I don't really go to them because of where I live. I do like Black Gang Chine on the Isle of Wight, which is less popular, but I believe it's the UK's oldest theme park.
It is.
To check that out.
And they might be adding some smells soon. I can't say too much about that.
I have to look out for that one.
Yeah, definitely have to look out for that.
The next place I go to in the UK will definitely be Alton Towers.
Yeah, man.
I need to do some sniffing.
Yeah.
Well, if you fancy,
what's that, Joe? Broke up, mate.
I was going to say, if he fancies meeting up with us for a day out, he's always more than welcome.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, there's lots of people I need to be meeting up with. I think I might have to go to Alton Towers for a few days and meet people who I've been doing podcasts with.
No, fantastic.
Right, well, Liam, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time. I appreciate all the information that you've given everybody as well during this podcast, and what you've been able to tell us as well is fantastic. And we're looking forward to the new range that's going to be coming out. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, and we've really enjoyed it. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast.
Really has. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me. We always appreciate the support from theme park enthusiasts and all the interest and discussions.
No, it means the world. It really does. And obviously to get, that bit of further insight to kind of, who Aroma Prime are and sort of how it's become the company it has today has been absolutely amazing, not only for ourselves, but obviously, for our listeners as well. So yeah, for myself here as well, thank you very much, Liam. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, make sure you check out Aroma Prime. The link is in the video description below. We'll be putting up some different links there as well. And Joe, where can everybody find Theme Park Insanity?
So guys, you can find us at themeparkinsanity.co.uk. That's our official website. We do have plenty of content planned over the next sort of couple of months. Lots of articles that are planned to be going live within a week or so. So please go and check that out at themeparkinsanity. At facebook.co.uk/TPI official. Lots of daily updates on there, lots of daily content, news, you name it, we've got it. So come check us out, guys. Be great to have you.
Yeah, and we've got something very exciting coming up to the channel on the 22nd, working with Virtual Towers and 2 other YouTube channels. It's going to be live. It's going to be fun. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. Make sure you hit that notification bell as well, because we'll be going live as well throughout the week, leading up to our trip next week to Flamingo Land. My first time actually ever being there. So that's going to be good. We're going to be vlogging that as well, aren't we, Joe?
We are, and I can't wait to see your first reaction to Heroes. To Hero, I really can. That's going to be so funny. I'll ride it just for that.
It's going to be fun, and we can't wait. So once again, Liam, thank you so much for joining us. And if you want to say anything to the people listening, then now's your chance.
Well, thank you for listening. Make sure you're following us if you're not already, because we'll be giving all sorts of updates on all our newest projects with theme parks. And all the new smells that we're releasing as well.
All right, brilliant. All right, guys. Well, like I said before, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, and follow us on our socials. And for now, I've been Luke, he's been Liam, and he's been Joe from Theme Park Insanity. And that was the CoasterGen Show live. Guys, we'll catch you next week. See you later.
See you soon.
Bye.